Hey, what's happening, herpers? So today I got into my reptile room to find one of my western diamondback rattlesnakes made a pretty big mess, so I've got to get him out of his enclosure, and I figured this would be a great time for me to show you that process. If you've seen some of my recent videos, I have taken him out in some of them, but there were videos where I was either making new enclosures or feeding all of my pets, and if you weren't watching the whole video, then you didn't get to see the rattlesnake come out of its enclosure. So if you missed seeing Spot, you'll get another chance today because he made a mess. So I'm going to spin the camera around so you can see how I safely retrieve my rattlesnake from his enclosure. And if you enjoy that, stay tuned because I'm going to be showing you the other really cool thing, the actual pair of really cool things I found inside my other albino rattlesnake's enclosure just about a week ago. So if you want to see how I safely work with western diamondback rattlesnakes, and you want to see the really cool thing that one of them gave me, or the pair of really cool things that one of them gave me a few weeks ago, then stay tuned because you are going to love this video. Let's get into it. Alright, so here he is. This is Spot, the western diamondback rattlesnake. He will be the first one I'm working with today. And I need to pull him out because right over here, well, you see his glass. He likes rubbing his belly all over the glass, going through the water, and then rubbing his belly all over the glass. And so that's the first reason I want to get Spot out. But it also looks like his water's running low, so I'll take the opportunity to remove the water dish and clean it out and make sure he's drinking some clean water. And right next to the water dish, I'm kind of thankful he didn't do it in the dish, is rattlesnake poop. That is what rattlesnake poop looks like if you haven't seen it before. A lot of people say that it kind of looks like bird poop, but if you look really closely and carefully in it, I know, gross, you can sometimes find something a lot cooler inside of it than you could ever find in bird poop. And recently, my albino rattlesnake Bojangles gave me something really cool in his poop that I'll show you later. So I'm not going to keep Spot waiting any longer. I'm going to go ahead and get him out of his enclosure so we can get that cleaned up. That way you can get a point of view perspective of exactly what I'm seeing while I'm trying to get the rattlesnake out of his enclosure. Just adjust the angle on that a little bit. That look good? Yeah, I think that looks good. All right, so I got the stationary camera there, switching over to the point of view, removing the safety wedge. But first I need to make sure I've got somewhere to put the snake, so I'll lift that up. Make sure I leave the lid somewhere where I can reach it. And now here it goes. So you can see he is rattling. That is just to alert me, hey, I'm a rattlesnake, don't step on me. Pretty soon here he's gonna realize I do know where he is, and no, I'm not going to step on him, but I'm also not going to leave him alone. As soon as he realizes that's going to happen, he's probably going to try to get away from me because, like most snakes, he just wants to be left alone. So I'm going to just kind of carefully bring his tail back. Whoop, he didn't like that. As soon as he pulled away and realized I was restraining him, he decided to pull against me. It freaked him out, and he was back around, so that was why I let go. If I had held on, there's a good chance he would have bit me. Not because he's mean or aggressive or anything like that, but because he's a rattlesnake, and that's what rattlesnakes do when they are restrained. So we're gonna try again. I'm gonna try to use the glass as a bit of a barrier to protect me. This goes without saying, just because you see me do anything on this channel, doesn't mean you should do it too. But there he is. I'll spin him around so you can get a better view. I know last time I did this, in the last video, he didn't really stay in focus too well, so hopefully you're getting a better view of him this go around. Oh, and he has stopped rattling. That's a good sign. He's realizing it might not be an immediate threat. And there's the rattling again. So let's bring him down into the bucket. There you go. And he might come back out, that's all right. The funny thing about rattlesnakes is they tend to be a little bit head shy. So if he were to start coming back out again, you can kind of see how just approaching his nose, he wants nothing to do with me and is ready to hang out down there while I clean his enclosure. So now we'll get the lid on and we'll get into cleaning his enclosure. Right, so just pulling the water out. It's funny, I know I just filmed myself putting Spot inside the bucket, but I always have that kind of hesitation, that moment of, oh, don't reach your hand in there, even though I know I just pulled him out. And I think that's a good level of hesitancy or just a precaution to kind of keep with you if you keep any sort of venomous or dangerous reptiles. Just that instinct of double checking, did I remove the snake? Is it where I think it is? Because slipping up can be the difference between life and death, or at the very least, could be a really hefty medical bill. And if you want to know more about that, then check out my video on nightmare venoms that goes into some of the scariest venoms in the world and the price tag associated with bites right here in the US. And that is that nasty rattlesnake poop, so we'll go ahead and get that out of there. Alright, and it didn't look like there's anything too interesting in that poop, so I won't make you look at it longer than you already have. So now I will get Spot, my regular western diamondback, you can hear him down there, back home into his enclosure, and then I will show you what I found last week in Bojangles' enclosure. Alright, so I got Spot's enclosure all cleaned out, which means I'll get you guys back into the harness. I'll make sure this camera's recording so we can get a couple other extra angles of Spot. We will see how he likes coming out of his enclosure. No pressure. We've got an audience of my boa constrictor and my tegu, who both apparently think it's feeding time. Hopefully they don't go too crazy when they see the rattlesnake. Let's see. You want to come out on your own? Sometimes I can lift his head out and he'll start coming out. Let's see what his mood is today. See, he's a very touchy rattlesnake. Not really happy about me grabbing his tail at any point. So I'll see if I can just show him the way. No, he's not going to sit on the hook. If you ride the hook, I don't have to hold your tail. Let's see here. All right, going up. And almost rode the hook. But he is on the ground now. There we go. Calming down. See, that's where you want to go, ain't it? There he goes. Back home. You're welcome. Ungrateful son of a... Hey, alright, so I got what I found last week in Bojangles' enclosure, folded up carefully inside of this pink post-it note, and I will open it very carefully down here. I put them inside of this post-it note so I wouldn't lose them, but I saw these sticking out of one of Bojangles' poops, I guess. Poop. I found this sticking out of Bojangles' poop a few weeks ago. There's one of them. I'll set it back on that. Oh, the fold in the paper just kind of made it bounce. But that is a rattlesnake fang. And a question I always get about them, it looks like the tip might have broken off of one of them, is first, is there still venom in it? What would happen if I poked myself on them? And second, how in the world does a snake poop these out without it hurting them? Because that is where I get these fangs from. Rattlesnakes will lose and regrow fangs throughout their entire life. And if you think about it, it actually makes a lot of sense, and that's because rattlesnakes aren't like my boa constrictor. That's a constrictor that can actually wrap around and, well, constrict its prey. So if a rattlesnake damages or loses its fangs, they don't have any way to continue hunting, they don't have any way to inject their venom anymore, and it would mean a slow death of starvation. So the way around that problem and the risk of losing your fangs for a rattlesnake is plan on losing them and constantly regrow new ones throughout their entire life. So that is why I have these fangs and why I don't need to worry about my rattlesnake, and why I certainly shouldn't assume that my rattlesnake is fangless now because I'm holding the fangs right here. It doesn't work like that. Usually by the time they lose their fangs, they have already regrown a new set of fangs, so they're never left without a way of envenomating their prey, or if they're really threatened and pushed to the edge, they still have their fangs even for defensive purposes. Although that usually doesn't work out for the rattlesnake, and I have a couple YouTube shorts that go into depth on why that is. But anyway, I will angle this back down, but I will just get them into that little dish. I'm using a sauce lid for this, so it doesn't need to be anything too fancy. And then I've got some hydrogen peroxide right here that I will use to whiten the teeth, or the fangs rather. And you'll see that they should start bubbling kind of instantly when the hydrogen peroxide contacts them. And I will leave them in here for maybe 30 minutes. It'll kind of help break up some of the poop and debris on them, and we'll slowly start to bleach the fangs in a way that isn't going to be as tough as actual bleach. Hydrogen peroxide is a very mild bleach, so it won't disintegrate the bone like using a stronger bleach might. So while those fangs are sitting and whitening, I will talk about the other big question that I get about rattlesnake fangs, and that is if there's any venom in there that could potentially harm me. And the answer is probably not. And that's because these fangs did get swallowed by the rattlesnake. Usually they break off when they strike their prey. They break off inside of whatever it is that they are eating. And then they travel through the entire digestive system and they are excreted out in the rattlesnake's poop. What that means is those fangs had to go all the way through all of the snake's incredibly strong stomach acid. And venoms, as you know if you've watched my videos on a couple different types of snake venom, are pretty much just big complicated chains of proteins and other amino acids. And proteins and amino acids fall apart and lose their shape very easily. All of that is to say, by going through the snake's digestive tract, the chances that there's any active venom still inside of the fangs is incredibly unlikely, probably impossible. I still use caution when I'm holding them because I don't want to poke myself on a gross poop-covered fang, but the idea that you could actually be envenomated by a fang that was found inside of a rattlesnake's poop is far-fetched at best. Alright, so it has been about 20 minutes and I will go ahead and try to get these fangs out of here and I lost it, where did it go? Well, it is sticking to my thumb, there we go. So luckily that didn't poke me or anything, it's just a little sticky, so I'm gonna put it on a black background, that way you can see it a little easier. Okay, so here are those fangs now that they have spent some time whitening. I might have to switch to the manual focus. Aha, there we go, there we go. All right, so I've been trying on a couple different black surfaces here, trying to find a way to make these fangs just a little bit easier to see. I've tried manually focusing, I've tried automatically focusing. Ooh, that looks pretty good. I think I finally found it. But check it out. So these are fangs from my smallest rattlesnake, Bojangles, that little albino rattlesnake. So you can only imagine how much larger the fangs of my biggest rattlesnake is. There it is next to my thumb for size comparison. And if I can get it real in focus, you might even be able to see the tiny slit on the front of the fang, because contrary to popular belief, it's not actually a little hole at the tip of the fang. It's a slit that runs down the front of the fang that the venom is actually excreted out of. And if I spin it around and you look at the back of it, you can even see a little bit of the little hole where the venom duct attaches to the fang and delivers the venom that will travel down the fang and into whatever the rattlesnake happens to be envenomating. Oop, lost a fang. It's me. I'm being envenomated. Nope, found it. There it is. But anyway, that is what Western Diamondback rattlesnake fangs look like from just a juvenile Western Diamondback. And like I said, rattlesnakes and all venomous snakes lose fangs throughout their entire life. So it's just a matter of time until I get some big fangs from Spot, the rattlesnake you saw me handling today. So make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss finding those when he eventually decides to pass on his old fangs. Anyway, that does it for this week's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed it and you haven't liked it already, you made it all the way to the end, so I think you owe me a like. Of course, I'm just playing around. But if you did enjoy the video and you want to see more videos from me, make sure to hit the subscribe button and the little bell next to it, because YouTube doesn't really tell people when my videos come out for some reason. So hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and then lastly, I owe all of my patrons that make this channel a possibility. Like I said, for whatever reason, YouTube doesn't really recommend my videos anymore, so my views have been going steadily down for months. So this channel continuing to exist really does come down to the fantastic patrons who have signed up to support me over on Patreon, so I'd like to thank all of them, starting with my current head herpers, Allie Ward, Amanda Lynn, Bobby Cromer, Deborah Torgerson, Lavenders, Lindsay Justice, and Tiffany H. All of those amazing patrons have signed up to support this channel at the highest tier level every single month, but if you're interested in helping this channel stay afloat and getting your screen name in the end credits of every full video, you can sign up at the link in the description to support this channel for as little as $3 a month, and you'll get your screen name in the end credits of every full video, along with getting the opportunity to vote on what the patron chosen video topic for each month will end up being. So if that sounds of value to you, make sure to check out the link in the description. I really couldn't do it without you guys and without your support. So if you enjoyed these videos, please consider pitching in, and if you can't pitch in, I understand, money's tight right now. If you find yourself in that position and you still want to help out the channel, just being here, watching every video, staying to the end like you have here, and liking and sharing these videos really does help. And with that, my obligatory starving YouTuber begging is over with, and I would just like to thank you once again for making it all the way to the end. I'd like to thank all the other patrons that you see scrolling down the screen right now that make this channel possible. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week. I hope nobody has to poop out fangs with or without venom in them, but most of all, I hope that you just keep herping.